The average radio listener listens for 18 minutes. The average fan listens for, are you ready for this? Okay. An hour and 20 minutes.
How can that be?
Answer most commonly given. I want to see what he'll say next.
All right, okay, fine. But what about the people who hate
Yergs?
Good point. The average hater listens for 2.5 hours a day.
Look, but if they hate him, why do they listen?
Most common.
Hey, gang. Almost ready. Almost on time today. Let's take that overlay away. Two good-looking guys there. Let's see them for real. I don't know what the hell it is, but Rainbow Radio is acting up again. Not sure what's going on there. But we've got a long 2 hours today. I don't even know if our co-host is aware of this. I'm just going to not do, I don't know why. I think it might be, I don't know. But for whatever reason, yesterday, Rainbow Radio didn't work. We went without it. Last night I tested it. It worked fine. I mean, it's like a foreign car. And so I don't know what else to do. You know, like I said, it worked yesterday. I got to finish this thing here. Translating Trump. And there we are. Screen share so that they can see the video. And we're back in business. We got phones open. We've got a camera. Oh, camera not on. That's kind of key. It's kind of important. I don't know what it is, but every day I set the camera for like to be zoomed in so much. There it is. Everything was going so well too. I even got Matrix out for another walk. He pooped okay. He's not gagging right now. Now my phone in the other room is ringing because that's important. I gotta turn the phones off. It's just the landline here at the house, the studio, and I don't know if you can. It's not registering on the equalizers, so that's a good thing. All right, it's Wednesday. You're listening to 99.1 WDJY, America One Radio, WZQR in Pineland, Florida, and ZQR Talks, 1400 and 107.1 KSHP in Las Vegas, the Biz Growth Collective, Rainbow Radio. Well, no, we're not, but Yergs Radio, Discord, Chatter, Clubhouse, all of our social medias, and as we say, the rest of the Mastiff Media Network. It's the 29th. I wonder if I get paid. I usually get paid on the 29th. We retirees on a fixed income. That's important. But speaking of fixed incomes and monies, various funds were frozen at the last minute. We still got Buy Blackett up there from yesterday. We'll put that back up in a minute. But speaking of Blackett, let's try and get some answers and bring out our usual co-host and give him some news. I don't even know if he knows yet because I don't know if he saw. Hey there.
Hello.
You got us on in the background or something?
Do I have a buzzsaw going in the background?
No, do you have us on in the background?
No, I got my speakers on here.
Yeah. When you first came up, there was like an echo and I could hear myself, but it's gone.
Oh,
So,
I thought you were saying like, was there like a buzzsaw noise in the background? I was about to say, no, that's probably not me. It's probably Trump like taking out all the disloyal people in the background.
Yeah, because that's a good thing to have in a democracy is a dictatorship.
Just cut them down.
Like, are you even thinking this is a little much by this point?
No.
I mean, to offer. First of all, he fired 17 inspectors general illegally.
Yep.
No, there's trimming fat, but this isn't fat. This is muscle that's needed to keep some level of corruption out of the government.
Mm-hmm.
This is the inspectors general and the 17 that he fired illegally. And I'll talk about the 3 characteristics that needed to be met that weren't.
Mm-hmm.
They are like in each of the departments that they're assigned to. Like, for example, in the Secret Service, we had 2. We had our own, what was called the Office of Professional Responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Those were Secret Service agents detailed to that department for internal investigations. If you screwed up, that's who came to visit you.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a bigger issue than that, then the Department of Homeland Security has their Office of Inspector General.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the internal affairs for the entire Department of Homeland Security. FEMA, who he also wants to get rid of, Secret Service, everybody else in DHS.
Mm-hmm.
Every cabinet level position has one of those. Other agencies have them. It is, like I said, the internal affairs of that particular division, agency, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fat. When you're dealing with somebody that's known for favoritism, like Donald Trump, corruption is something that needs to be kept out. And here he is illegally firing 17 of them. And before we go, I'll go with the why it's illegal. Inspectors general have to be fired directly, personally, by the president.
Mm-hmm.
They were not. They were fired through, for lack of better terms, and I hate using this phrase for this, but because you know I'm not a fan. I don't sugarcoat that. But through the chain of command,
Mm-hmm.
which is not how they are fired.
Okay.
They are all senior executive service positions.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're civil servants, they do have a responsibility to the executive branch, meaning, like I said, the president has to fire them.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, they have to be fired for a good reason, meaning the legal term meaning with cause,
Mm-hmm.
which means they have to have screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be the subject of an internal affairs investigation. They were not. None of them. And third, there's a 30-day grace period where Congress gets to oversee the process and make an actual final decision on the termination.
So in that case, is it really the president deciding on firing, or does Congress ultimately have the final decision?
Great question. Great question. But
because that seems a little redundant potentially.
It does. But it's probably one. I can certainly already think of a reason to have it, and that's because. Oh, I'm not logged in on the one here. Give me a second. There we go. There we go. Yep. So I'm using this other encoder for this other internet radio provider. I know that nobody's listening to it right now, but I want to get in the habit of using it because we're not actually telling people that it's there yet. So, yeah, redundancy. Yeah, and maybe it's necessary because of, I just said how he was doing so much better. Oh, that poor dog. But maybe it's there. Maybe that redundancy is there to prevent illegal actions such as this. Doesn't that bother you at all that he just willy-nilly fires these people when in fact his whole the first term, the first administration, there were issues about favoritism, nepotism, and other issues. Let's not even talk about the number of former cabinet members that wouldn't endorse him this time around. And why? Doesn't that bother you at all? Or are we just still cutting fat?
So to answer the first question, no. Doesn't bother me at all. 2, it is cutting fat to some degree, partly because it makes me think of something that commonly happens in business and in sports. Yergs, when there's a new sheriff in town, the sheriff in some sense gets to decide who his or her team's going to be that you work with.
But the sheriff doesn't get to break the law. And it's different if we're talking about presidential appointees, like cabinet members.
Gotcha. But
attorney general, U.S. attorneys, marshals.
Yep.
Vacant court appointments. But these are people that have been there for as long as I've been there. And now they're out of a job. Now they're out of a pension.
So is it more of a question as far as tenure, or is it more of a question about process? Did he supersede the process established?
Yes.
Okay.
It's all of the above.
Okay.
Because we're talking about not being able to pay for groceries. And now these people who were making 6 figures because of being career dedicated, lifelong employees. You don't get senior executive service unless you're an appointee, like a cabinet level position, which is what they are as well. There's 3 levels of what's called SES, senior executive service. A new, like every major field office that I've served in, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Washington field office, and Los Angeles field office, they were all SES1. The special agents in charge, the boss, the top person in that office was SES1. All the rest of us, from his deputy special agent in charge down to a rookie, are on what's called the general scale or GS pay scale, which goes from 1 to 15. Journeyman level agent like me is 13, goes up to 13. My supervisor is a 14. And the assistant special agents in charge, the 3 or 4 of them that each office has, depending on its size, are GS 15s. And as they either decide that's as far as they want to go, or they can go through, it's kind of like getting your master's to be SES, the government. And that's another thing. These people have gone through training that nobody else has. That it's not like there's, I mean, there are and there aren't. But then it's not like these are positions you can just leave open. All of these inspector generals who now have some of these 2 million other employees that have been given an offer to go.
So is this the offer where people are given the offer to return to work or to leave and get, 8 months severance?
Yeah, it's the estimate right now is to September.
Okay.
But Senator Tim Kaine from Virginia has been advising federal employees not to take this deal for obvious reasons.
So not take it as in not come back to work or not resign and take the 8 months severance.
Apparently, the Trump administration is going around flapping their yap about only 6% of the government is actually working in office. That's not true. It's not true. By the time I left in November of 2021, I spent a year and a half working from home. I don't know how a bodyguard works from home, but God love us, we did it. Now, obviously, there's assignments when you can't do that.
Right.
But if instead of coming in and dicking around in the office, that's why we have laptops.
Sure.
That's why we have take-home cars.
Sure.
That's why we have the capability of using our home intranet to safely connect to the network, the secure network at work. So we don't have to come into the office if we don't have to. And you know what? I got more work done from home than I did at the office. I wasn't walking 5 blocks one way to the nearest Dunkin' Donuts to go get coffee with the guys. There's probably a good 45 minutes till we're back.
Efficiency. Yep.
And
like it.
That's a coffee break. That's not lunch. I'm not sitting in traffic and getting all pissed off.
So you're in a better mood, better state, going into work.
Yeah. Right. San Francisco traffic. Philly. The closest I've ever lived to the office was DC. I was on a good traffic day, 10 minutes. And that's if I hurried.
Okay.
If there was something going on, I needed to, and probably turn the lights on. But that's amazingly rare. The few times I had to do that to come into work, I was the airport agent at Reagan Airport.
Okay.
And I would get a call in the middle of the night. Vice President Biden, now former Vice President Biden, is leaving to go somewhere. If you can get there, great. If not, we're not going to aid you. So I would hustle up and put jeans and a sport coat on and sneakers and try to make it look good at 3 o'clock in the morning to safely see off the former vice president. Telling you all that because before I retired, that all came to an end.
Okay.
We were coming back into the office for the most part. Now, were we still given the autonomy to be, quote unquote, in the field, which could have meant home? Yeah. Why? Because there are plenty of times, especially in Los Angeles, where we had Vice President-elect Kamala Harris living there in district.
Yeah.
Trump Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin living right down the road. I forget what the guy's name is, but he was a national security advisor for Trump. Lived over in the Pasadena. I won't give his address out, of course, but
of course,
the general Pasadena area. Those three. It's tough to describe them. Like, for example, they didn't get a lot of shift agents, but the Treasury Secretary had an armored limousine.
Okay.
He was in an armored Suburban. The advisor was. Once Kamala Harris became the actual vice president-elect, she was. That's trucks you don't just leave sit somewhere. Once we take possession of them, they are guarded by agents for the entire time that we have them. Or they're in, with Dick Cheney in a secure, undisclosed location. But administrative people were no longer doing whatever work they could from home. They were coming in and being in the office. And again, if we needed to be there, we were in the office and not having to wear masks, and because COVID was essentially over. It's never going to be over because it's now an endemic, which means it could come back every year like the flu does. But this whole thing about government agencies working from home, first of all, he makes it sound like that's a bad thing, like we're sitting around dicking around. No, we don't go golfing in the middle of the day like some people do.
It depends on the person, Ross. Not everyone's as on top of things as you.
No, it wasn't me. It was the office. And it was, am I on here? Yeah, okay. I'm just checking some of the other platforms that we're on right now. It was the office, and it was the people that I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And, are there other, how should I say, are there other offices or other agencies that are much less gung-ho about, being in federal employment? Sure. But they're also positions that they really couldn't have been doing from home in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's a counter receptionist person, you can't take that call from home when somebody's standing at the glass going, hello,
Mm-hmm.
and tapping on the window. So, and
I mean, unless until AI comes into play and then takes those jobs away too, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's just that he put about a bunch of numbers that were never close to accurate with regards to the number of federal employees that were working on site.
Okay.
His administration had it incredibly low, deceptive, and inaccurate. And I think Biden, when they put out numbers last year, from what I have I don't remember the name of it now, but I get an email from a government. It's kind of like a government news agency / watchdog. And all it does, it's called GovExec. And all it does is gives us the news of what's happening in the government. And that's how I, follow a lot of these different executive orders that he's putting out now. And they got it. They're laughing at the numbers he's putting out as far as the number of people that allegedly work from home. But as far as comparing that to the 2 million, he's not hiding the fact that part of staying means that you are loyal to Donald Trump. On March 30th, 2001, I did not take an oath of office to be loyal to George W. Bush. I took an oath of office to be loyal to the Constitution. And this guy, who didn't even put his hand on the Bible to do that, and claims that the Bible is his favorite book and it's very personal and whatever the hell else he's lying about.
Wasn't Melania a little late in bringing the Bibles at that time?
It's not an excuse. That's not an excuse.
I mean, that was definitely some tension that day, that for another conversation. But anyways.
But yeah, I didn't take an oath to him.
And you're right. You're right for it.
But that's what he's requiring.
I think what goes on here is the thought of, sometimes I feel like we ought to try to look at things from his perspective, from the standpoint of, yes, you're here to do a job that a lot of people love you to do. And there's a lot of people that hate you for doing it. And so there's definitely an element here, Ross, where it's like, okay, I'm coming into this after surviving all that I've survived thus far, including assassination attempts, including weaponization, all that sort of thing. Just put that to the side. You got to think that this guy is going to be at least a little apprehensive of just keeping everyone that was in the Biden administration that might have played a role in what happened to him over the past 4 years.
2 million people, and with those 17 inspectors general, and now everybody who did their job from the Justice Department by investigating him there, the attorneys.
I could see a review being helpful to see who stays and
They're
who
already
goes.
fired. They're already fired. And here's what they were charged with investigating. Just find me another 11,000 votes. The sitting president of the United States said that on a known recorded phone call to the Secretary of State of a swing state.
Those were the
And
people that left? They got
no,
fired?
that's the people. That's the incident that those people were investigating.
Mm-hmm.
That's their job. That's a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on camera, or excuse me, on audio tape.
Mm-hmm.
And we say tape figuratively. We all know nobody uses actual magnetic tape anymore, but it's the digital thing.
Yeah.
But these are people that are just doing their job.
I get it.
Some of whom you don't know, because we're not allowed to ask these questions, even though he's doing it now. Mm-hmm. Some of whom may have voted for him.
And some of them might have not. And some of them may have had an allegiance strictly just to the Constitution doing their job. And some people may have an allegiance to whoever's in office.
That's called being an American. That is actual patriotism. Not following some false god and dressing in red, white, and blue.
Which I'm still waiting if we're going to have that red, white, and blue background again. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, and yeah, funny you mentioned that. We're talking about not showing aid to Ukraine and trying to make people believe that it has nothing to do with the fact that he's Putin's bitch.
Okay. You may feel that way. We'll see what pans out, okay?
Okay. The intelligence community tells him, yes, Russia influenced the 2016 election. Mm-hmm. But he believes the dictator from the country who influenced the 2016 election. You don't think that makes him look like Putin's bitch? You're shaking your head no. A Harvard graduate is shaking his head no.
Listen,
come on, Phil.
There's a lot of things that clearly, there's a lot of things that we're fed by the news that is just the surface of what's really going on. And so there's, at least for me, a healthy sense of,
he said that
I need to learn more before I give a clear answer on this one.
Oh, we got to talk more during the week, because we can't be.
I mean, I'm trying to remember, but then again, that was like 9 years ago. I'm more so focused on like the windshield in front of me, like the first 100 days. Now that he's president,
what is Trump supporters and this really short memory? You guys don't remember him being Russia's bitch. You don't remember January 6th. But you do remember not being able to buy eggs, and then turning around and making Black Friday 2024 the most successful Black Friday in history.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh, I was staying home during that time. I didn't want to fight people in Walmart.
But we can't afford eggs. And that was before the avian flu or ovarian flu or whatever it's called. Avian flu. Not ovarian flu. Avian flu. Mm-hmm. Now it's making it worse. And somebody on Facebook was saying, have you ever heard of I just said it again, ovarian. Have you ever heard of avian flu? And I said, yes, I have. Have you ever heard of gas not coming down below $3 yet? Have you ever heard of energy costs going up because and this is where I, leave up the Ukrainian flag as our background. We're talking about not putting boots on the ground in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Yet he's picking fights with Denmark.
What, for Greenland? In Canada?
And Mexico. And Colombia. And Panama.
Well, that is the question where you are the leader of the free nation engaging with all the other countries around you. That's kind of what's going on.
Yeah, there's engaging with countries, which he can't do, by the way, because none of these countries allow convicted felons in their country. Probably the reason why he gave that video delivery to Davos instead of being there in person like he was every other time.
Or he could have been saying, I'm going to be like Ross. I don't have to be in the office to deliver that speech. I could do it from my own White House. Get the job done and still be efficient to do all the other things after I deliver the address.
With that type of technology, I don't understand why there aren't many, many more official visits done virtually.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's
And
clearly
his
an element
office needs
missing
to
by not
say,
being there, right? As far as like meeting people in person, that sort of thing. You can't do that off of Zoom. But if it was just more so, hey, we need you to deliver an address, and that's it primarily, I could see with everything else he had on his agenda probably that day. Let me just go ahead and deliver it virtually. I got it done.
right,
I don't have to travel across the
I'd
ocean
love
to do
that.
it, but
I'd love that. But then I'd also love to hear his 25-year-old college graduate, maybe press secretary, say that. Say,
you got an issue. You got an issue with a
we
young
are
woman moving up the ranks here.
we are practicing what we preach.
Mm-hmm.
We are staying home and trimming fat ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
My alarms do not have audible. They are they just stop. And so apparently a little while ago, I should have taken a commercial. I'm not sure if you saw it in the up the middle chat, because I noticed that you're a part of that. And so I stopped kind of messaging you directly when you're in there. Today is our first day on WDJY in Atlanta.
Nice.
We've been there. We've been Monday through Friday there at 11.
Okay.
But now we're also at noon. So today is our first 2-hour show on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get the chance to discuss this at greater length other than
I saw
having
it in the email.
Okay. So if you are not able to be here for 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
I've got things I can talk about in hour number 2.
Okay. You can bad mouth me while I'm away.
Yeah, well, you can still listen. You can still hear it. And you can do so, by the way, by going to yergsradio.com. Throw that thing out there. I got to take a break. One of them we'll leave up till we come back. I'm beating this guy up pretty bad already, so we'll give him some opportunities here. There on the screen, as I've said many times before, Philip's also an author, published author, and not one of those who just like has somebody else write a book for him. You know, this guy actually does research. He's not giving us too much of that research today right now, so maybe we'll switch topics and get something from him. But what is it? 6, 7 books you've written so far in your life?
Mm-hmm.
You got to look up and count, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's the QR code to the Amazon link where you can check those books out. It's as only Amazon can do. It's a really long URL. So all I can give you is that QR code that's there. And then also you can go to buyblackett.com that I was on earlier. We'll put it back up. I got my mug from one of my 2 mugs. All I need is coffee and my dog. I got to see if you got something there with like the Second Amendment type stuff, because the conservative side of me is very pro Second Amendment. It's just that I'm also pro the other 9 amendments of the Bill of Rights. But go to buyblackett.com/Yergs for what did you say it was 15% off?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 15%.
Yep.
So whatever your tab is, by using .com/Yergs, knock off 15%, and that's at least your tax and then some. So we'll leave those 2 up. It's 11:34, almost wrapping up hour number 1. But like I said, we got 2 today, so hang tight for that. And I should have done this a little sooner too, so I can get more of them in. But we're not taking long commercial breaks anymore either. That way you don't escape us. You by the time you go to do something else or turn the dial, we're back from the commercial, and it's worth staying. So 99.1 WDJY, America One Radio, ZQR, and KSHP. We'll be back after this. Hey, what's in your wallet? Well, I'll tell you what's in mine, and it should be in yours. Capital One. My credit card with Capital One has $0 fraud liability for any unauthorized use. 0. Flexible due dates. Look in your wallet. See if it's there. Or go to my Facebook page and click on the affiliate link. You get checked for pre-approval. You can apply for the card and enjoy. Yergs on Cameo. Oh, I screwed up there. There we go. Come on. Give me some background music. There we go. Yergs on Cameo. That's right. I'm a celebrity now. Not really. But if you want me to bitch at you, like I do if somebody is smart enough and brave enough to give us a call, which we'll talk about in a second too. If you want me to wish you a happy birthday or a friend a happy birthday, if you know your husband is a huge listener and you just happen to be listening right now and hear this message, scan that QR code on the screen or go to cameo.com/Yergs/book. And for $5, I'll send you a good message. Whether it's a birthday wish, I can answer a question directly to you. I have to put the disclaimer in there. Some questions I cannot answer, but let me decide that. And then we'll either give you another shot or I'll still send you a pretty cool message. Cameo.com/Yergs/book. Do that today. Hear my voice forever. Because you can't get that on YouTube or wherever else. But at least it'll be personalized. So that's pretty cool. And this sounds better with like the chill music in the background too.
It sounds kind of fast, like you might sped it up like 1 1/4 speed or something.
So I don't have the capability to do that. And it's just AI generated. I've got chill, down tempo, chill hop. What is it, like chill hip hop?
Maybe.
Down tempo. Maybe that's a little slower. That's also seems like a little.
It's calming.
And here's the chill hop. Sounds kind of like Pink Floyd. You can see it. This going into a Pink Floyd song. And hip hop. So this is just like the beats. It's not like they like throw out any independent artist or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. I got a bunch of different options. Indie rock, corporate, world music, cinematic, epic, classical, love, future pop, whatever that is. I don't even know what that is.
Village People.
Yeah. Lars checking in from across the pond over in Europe. Where are you at these days, Lars?
Greenland.
I thought he was in Belgium. I know a mutual friend of ours has recently moved to Spain. The guy who was teaching me day trading. So if you're just joining us, we were talking about. I gotta say something. Yeah, it's still going. We were talking about it's Wednesday. It's translating Trump. Philip Blackett is with us for at least another. What do we got left? 17 minutes. I gotta restart this. I got all these countdown timers. Like the one I have set for the hour, so that when this one goes down, which is now exactly 17 minutes, it's actually a couple minutes before the end of the hour.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll see that, of course, and I'll know, hey, we got to stop because I got to give all the plugs. Check out Philip Blackett at myblackett.com and get his merch and and get us all here, there, and wherever. Did you last week? You had your social media for your name. Yeah, there you go. We'll leave that up. Yergs.com is up. I want to get let's see, that's the 2.0 version. I want to get a 2.1 out soon, but until then, it's at least sufficient. Also, the name that I use on the screen, Ross Yergs Yerger, is what you would search on Facebook for my professional Facebook page. A lot of what we talk about can also be found there. And also, I don't even know, I'm currently suspended from TikTok because of some violation last Thursday. They won't tell me what it was. I was kind of close, but not really. Lars is from the Netherlands. So what are you guys? Is it European Union stuff? What kind of BS are you dealing with, Lars? I'm going to give us a little bit of a Reader's Digest. We'll see what compares to here. So, I mean, anything he's doing so far that, makes you raise an eyebrow or makes you a little nervous? Anything at all?
Not yet. I mean, the Gulf of America thing is interesting to me, but it's not like a high priority sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you what my theory on that is. I just realized it's so like a part of us now. I just realized there's still music playing in the background. I have no idea which one it is. There we go. I think the Gulf of America. I mean, the annexing Greenland and Panama and whatever. That's, first of all, that's not going to happen, I hope. But just willy-nilly renaming that and what is it, Mount McKinley?
Mm-hmm.
I never even knew it was no longer Mount McKinley.
Me neither. That was interesting.
Yeah, what was it? What did we miss? You don't know either?
No, because I stopped taking geography from after middle school, so I had no idea. You can ask me like what mountains I think of, like Mount Rushmore, Mount Everest, and then at that point I'm drawing blanks.
Which I'm sorry, it's like Pete Rose still bet on baseball while he was in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
No, he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Not when you don't have the integrity to stay away from something like that.
I agree.
Similarly, no president who is charged with the responsibility of upholding and enforcing the laws of this nation should be on Mount Rushmore as a convicted felon.
You think Trump's going to be on Mount Rushmore after this?
No, because something like 97% of political scientists from his first administration ranked him the third worst president in history. Mm-hmm. And I think that's about right.
So who's second or first worst? Is Biden one of those two?
No, he was. They ranked him 14th best, number 14.
Oh gosh,
they ranked him number 14.
Was this before or after the preemptive pardons?
Before. It wasn't the very last.
All right, so it may change. Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about weaponization, and here he comes with the parade of retribution, and he said it. He said this was what he was going to do. I feel like I got a speaker on here somewhere. I hear it in my head, but I feel like the room is shaking too every time I raise my voice.
You're very passionate right now, so. Maybe that's just ringing true.
You should talk on the phone with my dad. I'm from a family of construction people. And my dad has been down here a couple times since I moved here. And we do projects on this, that, and the other thing. But now, since Hurricane Helene, he's been down once. In about a month or so, he and Mom are coming down. And we talk about, what we're going to do and trying to get like a structural engineer in here to see what I need to do to build up, how deep I have to dig pillars into the the ground to establish a foundation to do just that. But then, of course, we get talking politics because he and Mom and I supported Kamala Harris. My two brothers, their wives, and their whole families. My niece and I think my nephew. I think he just turned 20 also.
Mm-hmm.
Are both old enough to vote. My niece is like 24 or so. My nephew, I think, just turned 20. They're all Trump supporters.
Mm-hmm.
They all claim to be big Second Amendment people. They all carry. My sister-in-law carries. Both my brothers carry. My nephew, I think you have to be. I think he does. Although he's only 20. I thought you had to be 21 to carry a handgun. In Pennsylvania, whatever. I think my niece carries. They've never done that until Trump was president. And yet, Blake Fisher tells me our country's not at civil war. I'm like,
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it is. Look,
I don't see any troops getting.
Yes, you do.
Aggregated and assigned, ready to go. I don't see that.
I'm going to answer you.
I mean, I do hear that we're sending military to our southern border to better secure it. I do see the deportation starting to take place in different cities, and the
pomp and circumstances show the southern border was already secure back in July. The entire 4-week period plus the extra days, because July is 31 days, had fewer illegal crossings than Trump's last month, January of that year, 2021, which was 3 weeks.
But what happened before July, though?
Biden made a mess. That's not a secret.
So they try to dress it up before the election.
But he cleaned it up.
In coincidental time before an election?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good time to clean something like that up, isn't it? Because especially, as we talked about earlier in this show, Trump supporters don't have that long of a memory. So maybe it could get him a few swing votes. But anyway, back to the phone call with my dad. Oh, I know where I'm hearing that from. This phone, 2 of the platforms that we're on, I have to go live from my phone as well. And that's the speaker that I heard myself echoing from.
Oh, okay.
My phone speakers were up. My dad and I get talking politics, and he's constantly there. Don't yell. It's not me. It's not you, Dad. You know, this is what I talk about all day, every day, and I get passionate about it. Largely because I think some of this shouldn't be this hard. You know, a convicted felon runs for office. You should probably take a second look at the guy.
They did.
Especially he was already in that office and got voted out because he sucked.
Well, apparently not enough people say he sucked enough where he couldn't get a second try at this.
No, that's partially correct. Look, he won. He won.
I get it.
I'm not saying that there's even though they're now suggesting that there were shenanigans in Pennsylvania done by Elon Musk in his favor. It's not going to change anything, so I'm not going to go down that
rabbit hole.
Yeah, he won. I'm not going to. I hate these. I guess they're cliche terms, the cool terms that people use. I'm not going to deep dive into that or ensure that I get a good net. You know, everybody likes to use the buzzwords that everybody else is using. I don't. But I get passionate. I do. And my dad constantly yells at me. He says, "Stop yelling." I didn't.
He yells back at you.
Yeah, he yells because that's the only way you can get a word in edgewise. But he says, "Look, I voted for Biden. Don't yell at Biden, and I voted for Harris. Don't yell at me." But I'm still intrigued why you think that January 6th was not a rock bottom for the MAGA movement.
It could have been, yeah. But the question is, do you stay there at rock bottom?
Well, I mean, but
do you think it was a point? Do you mean like, was it a point of no return? Like, I disavow,
Yes.
I completely
Right.
walk away from this sort of thing.
Right.
I think it was a bad day for sure.
But it's all,
yeah, but it's also like, listen, your home team can lose a bad game. You still have to figure out, okay, am I still rocking with this team tomorrow, or am I throwing their jerseys away?
We're not talking about the Super Bowl. We're talking about a coup. We're talking about people that died.
There was a coup that happened to your guy too. But does that mean you're going to stop voting Democrat too?
It came down to me, like so many presidential elections previously, the lesser of two evils.
Right, because we're both flawed. I get it.
When Trump says things about people like John McCain, that he's a loser because he got captured and spent, I don't know, remember the number of years, but spent the amount of time that he did in the Hanoi Hilton.
I probably wouldn't co-sign to that pettiness, right?
That's who you want as your president?
I mean, is that an absolute like disqualifier? Because he said something that you might not agree with as far as like how his personal feelings is towards another American hero?
It was for my dad.
I get it, and I respect that. If that's what it takes, you say, hey, nope, never again, never at all. You said this, I can't go with you. Okay. Just understand it goes both ways. The opposition could say something like that or do something like that, and you say, yep, absolutely. Nope.
Yeah, but
that's a non-starter.
When Joe Biden called Trump followers trash, there are at least people that back
some people that said, yep, that's it.
He shouldn't have said that as president, but he's right.
Yeah. Everyone has a line. And depending on the person, if they cross that line, that's it for that person. But for me, like January 6th wasn't that for me. The remarks about McCain wasn't it for me. It was just more so the thought of, yeah, there's some things clearly I don't agree 100% of, regardless of the candidate. There's nobody that's been in any sort of public office that I agree 100% they're doing the right thing, right? And they probably would disagree with me too. But it's more so the question as far as which one do I feel like is better for the job, that for the most part will help get this country where it needs to go. And I think that's where I make the mark for.
I'm not sure what Laura, I was asking Laura during the break.
So they're letting in a bunch of woke people. That's what it sounds like.
I actually said that. That's right. I'm looking for my comments on here and like, why am I not? That's because I actually said it on the air. He's to retract. He's from Netherlands, not Belgium. I missed that. And the Paris deal. And I'm not aware of this. Do you know what he's talking about? People
Paris
sitting
Accord, or I don't know, climate.
People sitting on the road, woke people. So a lot of my day trading buddies from Europe are pretty conservative. And I know they're like, it reminds me, and by the way, he's not here to reply because he's got to go. I know this guy too. Eric checking in. It reminds me of one of my viral comments that I made back in Neil Thompson says, Philip, there's no more plausible deniability. Give it up. I've been leaning towards this. I got to admit, you're ruining Harvard's reputation at this point.
Okay. First of all, Philip with one L, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
Two, I think Harvard's reputation was compromised way before whatever comments I made that prompted yours. So they don't need my help on that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, we've been talking about this, Eric, and that he's either leaving positions open, which because you and I spent our entire adult lives in the federal government. It was tough enough for us to get some work done from some of the admin people who were swamped, or other technical specialty people who were swamped. The government as an employer is not getting any smaller.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to maintain efficiency, it's going to need to right now. Eric, jump in and in fact, if you want, give us a call. But right now, our former employer, I gotta take that. He says fork in the road. Our former employer, to be a special agent, is offering a $40,000 signing bonus.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a little more than half of your first year's salary as an agent.
About to say what is the base?
Yeah, it's only about 70 some and change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably with LEAP, maybe. LEAP is something that stands for, it's an acronym, stands for Law Enforcement Availability Pay.
Okay.
And by the way, oh, damn it. Okay, we got some time. We're wrapping up our first hour. So what are you going to do? Are you going to hang out a little bit, or you got to go, or what are you going to do?
So today I got to go, but now that I know this is going to be a regular thing, I will see if I can stay for the full 2 hours going for it.
Yeah, don't feel like you got to.
Okay.
We'll
take it one day, one show at a time. But I'm glad we have that flexibility.
Yeah, we're growing, and the goal is by the end of the spring to be 2 hours Monday through Friday. Right now, it's just Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that we have a 2 hour show, and still only 1 hour on Tuesday and Thursday. But you can get Philip. Let me take that off. So right there, Philip with one L, Blackett, Black the color, ETT, at Philip Blackett, anywhere you want to be on social media. You can also email him here, courtesy of my team account, which is news, NEWZ, at YERGZ.com, news at yergs.com, both with Z's. And then we'll see him again next week. In this one, this is the first week, and this is one of the reasons why we moved this day to 2 hours. 99.1 WDJY will be staying with us. So if you're listening there, hang tight. We'll be here for the second hour on that one. If you're on America One Radio, or I think ZQR stays with us too. But if you're on America One Radio or 1400 AM, 107.1 FM KSHP in Las Vegas, switch over to Yergs, YERGZ, radio.com and listen there, or go to, take that down, go to that Facebook page that you see, my name, Ross Yergs Yerger. Just Google that, search that on Facebook, and go to that Facebook page. That's my professional page. And you can watch us there. You can watch us at Up the Middle Radio Show on that page. You can watch us on 2 YouTube channels, Twitch. I don't know what all of them. There's a bunch. But check us out on any of those and hang out with us for the second hour. And if you know anything about this fork in the road, offered to 2 million federal employees, then give us a call. Yes, Eric, I am aware of it. And in fact, is this part of, and I know, Philip, I'm going to let you go, but for those that are staying with us, is this part of he's asking people who they voted for? He's requiring that they sign declarations of loyalty to him. Let us know in the comments. Give us a call, however you want to do it. Tell us how that doesn't scare you. Because I just think it's flat out wrong. Philip, I'll let you get a last word in before you go.
It's almost like a wedding vow, you know. Forsake all others, stay committed to you, good or bad.
Country. It's to the country, not one person.
I get it, but you're going to be serving with him, and so he will want to feel like you got his back too. I get it.
But that's exactly a point for the Secret Service. No, we are not the private army of the president. And that's what he's trying to create within the entire federal government.
Mm-hmm. Politics is a dangerous game. That's why loyalty is everything.
That's the point. This is not a game. And he just got rid of however many, whatever the count is up to now, 17 inspectors general. I think they said it was more than a dozen attorneys from the Department of Justice. Mm-hmm. There was somebody else too. I don't remember, but we can Google it. I'm going to take another break. And when I come back, it'll be just me. And we'll figure out just how many people have lost their jobs and what exactly they have as far as options. Philip, thanks again, bud. I will see you next week. Are you going to pop in on Fridays too, or just Wednesdays?
Just Wednesdays. I may surprise you on a Friday if schedule permits.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah.
What books do you got coming up? Anything you're working on now?
No books. I think we're good for now. So
yeah, good enough.
Yeah.
All right, pal. Thanks again. Always a pleasure. And we'll see you next week. Philip Blackett, our resident Trump translator and Harvard grad, published author. Very confusing guy. I just, this just seems like so much common sense. A convicted felon, a poor first administration. You know, this is some of the hypocrisy that I see from the MAGA movement. They're saying about how the economy under Biden was so horrible. Okay, well, what is that? What is that economy where the numbers don't lie? The GDP was at the highest ever, some of the lowest ever unemployment, certainly lower than the 10% that Trump saw. Trump thought 10% unemployment under his watch was good. Meanwhile, that's some of the worst numbers since the Depression. And, you know, Blake Fisher from our Friday show is giving me grief. And in fact, Matt did it too. They made I think it was about 2 weeks ago. When you see our faces up on the screen, I organize it so that Blake, as you see it, is on the right of the political spectrum, given that he's our resident conservative for that show and a registered Republican. Matt, a registered Democrat, me being not just in the middle, like I'm wishy-washy, but it's a balance. Like I said about my brothers, I too am pro Second Amendment. It's just that, like a true conservative, I'm also in favor of the other 9 amendments to what are called the Bill of Rights, something that I promise you most MAGA folks will not know what that is. And on top of that, I don't see how that's a conservative value. I see it as an American one. Yet Elon Musk is all too happy to censor people who don't agree with him on Twitter. And now possibly also on TikTok, which I believe is the reason why I was suspended on TikTok. I happen to also be critical of Trump that day, like I am every day. And I went back. What TikTok doesn't understand is that that's not the only game in town. And I'm on at least streamed directly to 7 other destinations. One of those destinations being the Yerg's Radio video feed, which is a link on every other Facebook page that I've got that I'm not streaming directly to. You can get that link. You can bookmark that link on your own browser, and every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, join us via video. Sorry. But I'm for the other 9 amendments, to include the First Amendment, that Elon, and remember, you can't spell felon without Elon, seems to be violating at least once a week. And I love how we're still saying it's not a Nazi salute, it's a Roman salute. Where do you think he got it? You people don't know your history. Because Hitler was the Third Reich. Reich is the German word for kingdom or empire. And according to Hitler, the Second Reich, the one before him, was the Ottoman Empire, the previous German Empire. And before that, it was the Holy Roman Empire. The First Reich was the Roman Empire, where that salute comes from, who also used swastikas in decorative signals. Or I'm trying to think of Dan Brown's character by Tom Hanks, the symbologist. Oh, wonderful. The symbologist is here. What's his name's line in the Vatican? And stay tuned, because I think we might do it as soon as this Friday. I'm writing a term paper. And it was just Trump to Hitler. But now we've got Musk throwing up the salute. And I thought that was a smaller one too. Don't forget, I'm on Cameo for $5. I can send you a personalized message. Also, check out Biz Growth. The Biz Growth Collective is an amazing alternative to LinkedIn. Just imagine something where you get actual professionals wanting to do actual business networking without the political, sorry to my own show, but without the political BS. So let's check what's going back on in the chat here. I wondered this a lot. What would happen if federal workers just walked off the job? Well, I mean, they're being pushed out anyway. In the Secret Service, we had a position called annuitants, basically because they're rehired, they're temporary, and they're rehired every year. They are mostly retired agents who come back and basically make the same amount of money doing almost the same thing. We were so hard up for bodies that they essentially became senior agents. They weren't doing advances, but they were post-standing. They were doing like security rooms at bigger events that are busier where you need somebody with experience. But there is a maximum age that they're allowed to stay. Unless, of course, you get a waiver. Well, we're working on a story about how the Secret Service fired very quickly a bunch of these senior agents. Some were on assignment at the UN this past fall when they got the message that at the upon the conclusion of their assignment at the United Nations Summit, they are no longer employed by the Secret Service. Yet they're turning around and paying $40,000 per, and it's not per applicant, obviously, it's per new hire. I'm going to assume and hope $40,000 signing bonus for taking a job with the Secret Service. I don't know. Maybe save some of that money and keep the people who are already trained, already experienced, already entrenched in the law enforcement community, and for that matter, in the intelligence community. I get the whole bring on fresh meat. We need that. We've needed it since I joined back in 2000. That was one of the quality of life issues the Secret Service was addressing that was never conquered, ever, in my 21 years. Did we ever have? I've never served in any assignment in the Secret Service of my, let's see, Philly, San Francisco, Clinton, WFO, and Los Angeles, where the number of pins, the lapel pins that we wear on our suits, where the number of pins that are allocated for that office was ever at maximum capacity. And when I say maximum capacity, I'm at least like if we're allocated in a Philadelphia office, like an office like Philadelphia, say roughly 50 pins, we're down to 47, 48 because we've had a retirement or, somebody transferred to the detail or something like that. No, I'm talking about like we've got 30 out of 50 pins. I know of smaller offices, the only people in the office are the boss. The one boss, that's it. The whole office. 6 agents, 4, 5, 6 agents, depending on the size, could be with that boss. None are there. They're gone. So yeah, if federal workers just walked off the job and had a blue flu, that happened in our uniform division, actually. Not all of them, but these guys and gals were working 80 plus hour weeks, 2 shifts a day at least, having days off rescinded. Hey, Eric. Yeah, it's the boss. I know you're off today. We need you to come in. Get dressed. And because of your employment agreement and your commitment, you don't have a choice. In you go. So a lot of these, there were a lot of bosses that had to take up posts around the White House and other locations because of what is often called in the law enforcement community, the blue flu. We can't strike, but we can call in sick. Eric says, yeah, because after the time commitment for the hiring bonus is met, they can walk. I didn't even think about that. So when we get transferred, because of the money that the government spends to move us across the country, as I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 times, actually 5, but the 5th one was on my dime, unfortunately. I didn't play that right at all. When you get to that assignment, it's a 2-year commitment in that office or in that district that before you move again or before you leave the Secret Service, you are committed to that amount of time. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Eric, do you know what that commitment time is for a new hire before they can leave? Because I'll tell you the other thing that happens is when Eric and I came on, the Secret Service was rivaled by other members of the law enforcement community as the badass agency. Anybody that left local or state law enforcement went to the FBI, the DEA, the Secret Service, ATF. But I have a friend, Jeff. Eric thinks it's 2 years. That's the same as if you get moved for a TDY. Not a TDY, but a permanent transfer, PCS, permanent change of station. Yeah. I still got the acronyms down after 3 years, 4 years, 3 years, 3 years. It'll be 4. 3 years in a couple of months. He's saying it could be 3. Yeah. I mean, something around there, I'm sure. But point being, and this is a great point to make, that's, for a GS7 starting at about $75,000, $80,000 a year, that's about half your salary. And it's actually over half your salary when you don't, it's over half the base salary. Because I'm sure that a GS7 right now is probably bringing in, let's look it up. I'm sure that a GS7 right now is probably bringing in 85,000 with Leap at least. Leap, I was explaining that in the first hour. I didn't get to finish it. General pay scale for 2025. Okay, so this is the base. Downloading the PDF. Here we go. Okay. I'll share the screen in a second. And for those of you just on the radio, I'll take you through it. Give me a second. There we go. I'll enlarge that. Give me one more second. So there it is, 1 to 15. You see the first column, grade. That's 1 to 15. You are hired at least as a GS5. So a GS5 base salary we'll round up and say $35,000. So let's say you get hired as GS5 and you'll probably get hired as a GS7, especially now that they're so desperate. Who is the new director? Who did he point for that? Did the temp guy get it, or who? What's happening there? You may remember that the second female director in the Secret Service history was forced out last summer after the Butler, Pennsylvania incident. But a $40,000 bonus. There you go. Okay. As a GS5, let's see if I can highlight that. There you go. Roughly 35. Your bonus is more than your annual salary. And what we get for LEAP stands for Law Enforcement Availability Pay. When let me see. When the phone rings, like to go to Hillary Clinton's famous commercial at 3:00 in the morning, a suspect in a case that we're working was arrested by the state police or by the city police, and they're in custody, and they've been found with counterfeit currency on them, or they've threatened the president. Is that the guy that was on stage with him? When I say on stage, I mean in the famous photos from Butler. Sean Curran, I think I know him. He wasn't a bad guy. And obviously, if that's who I think it is, then clearly, we know what the reason for that is. But Yeah, Eric's confirming that. So $40,000. That's more than a GS5 would make. But let's say you're probably going to come on as a GS7. Well, there it is. $42,000. Roughly 43,000. So you're getting. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. And Sean's a good guy, but again, is he really ready for an SES position like that with not having had the training, with not having had previous experience in like a field office? And I'm not slamming Sean. I'm slamming a process that I just saw the black gentleman that was I'm brain farting on the name, but the guy that was Biden's Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, was a brigade commander, a division commander, and just went right up the chain, earned all 4 of the stars on his shoulder before being an international commander, meaning that he not only commanded U.S. Army, but he commanded armies from other countries as part of that international team, like Eisenhower. That's who was the Secretary of Defense versus a guy who was in the National Guard for a little bit, followed by Fox News. Like, really? So what Eric's saying there went from GS15. I'll show you where that is. Down here at the bottom. And he's probably, due to time in grade, you can go, like I ended as a GS15 step 6. So my base pay was $105,000 a year. Or 15.6 or 15.7, something like that. One of those two. My base pay was $105,000 a year. I get 20% of that. So $100,000 divided by 5 is $20,000. Plus, a part of that $5,000, so roughly $21,000 added to that. So now I'm taking home, or actually I'm grossing at least $126,000. Back to GS7. $42,000 plus another 8, which is 20% of that, plus $40,000. The signing bonus. You're almost making 6 figures. And as with the travel and the scheduled overtime, the overtime in addition to the leap that you get, you'll break $100,000 your first year. And I get maybe, here's a historic, and keep in mind the director is a presidential appointment. And we've had directors from outside the Secret Service already. 3. One was a guy named Ralph Basham, who had nothing to do with the Secret Service prior to becoming our director, was familiar with law enforcement. Actually, you know what? He was retired Secret Service. I'm wrong. He was retired Secret Service. So at least he knew the culture, and at least he knew what we do for a living. But then we had, I think, a 1 or 2 star general from the Marines, who was also a good guy, very squared away. Was our director during Obama, I think. And then we had another SAC, an SES SAC of the president's detail, leave to go to be the vice president of security for Comcast, who came back to be the director, a guy named Joe Clancy. But many times, most of the times, the director of the Secret Service is appointed by the president from within the current ranks of the Secret Service. This next guy went from a GS-15 SAC to the director. Never served in any of these positions in the middle. He was never the SAC of a major field office or of the president's detail or vice president's detail, which would be that he's SES. Deputy Assistant Director, DADs, are both GS-15s or SES, depending on what qualifications they've had at the time of their appointment to DAD. But it's pretty much known that if you get appointed to be a DAD, you're going to be in the track to get your SES certification. And like I said, it's kind of like getting a master's. So that when you'll have that already when you're appointed to one of the assistant directors. I think we have 7 assistant directors, 7 ADs in the Secret Service, and one is over top of every major division in the Secret Service. Investigations, protection, information and resource management, et cetera, et cetera. HR training is another one. And there's like 6 or 7 or 8, something like that. Their boss is the deputy director, also an SES position. Someone that is appointed by the director, promoted by the director. All of those ADs, by the way, promoted by the director. All of those DADs, promoted by the director. The SES SACs, I think there's a committee that get promoted. The director himself or herself is a presidential appointment. This guy skips all of that to become the director. And I'm going to pull up another tab here. I got to look, make sure I don't have anything too sexy on my browser. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, that's who I thought it was. So it's this guy here. This is a week old already. I didn't know that. Eric, man, you got to check in more frequently. I got to admit, I don't miss it. That's him there in the shades. Yeah, I've always thought he was a good dude. Yeah, I've never had any issue with him. I just think he's being set up to fail. Yeah, he's no dummy. I hope he figures it out. But here's my issue with that whole event. Look at that ear. Okay, that looks pretty bloody. That looked like he's got a chunk missing. I'm ad-libbing this right now, so I don't have it handy. But if you go to the golf shots, this was a Saturday. Was in charge of 85 people. That is usually an SES office. I think that was because in this moment he was the former detail, which would have been beefed up and given more bodies while he was running for president. Which let's be honest, was all 4 years of the Biden administration. But they misspelled right, RIIGHT. You people know I'm grammar police. Yeah, Sean, not a bad guy. I just hope he does well, obviously, because I've got too many friends that are there that would be recipients of poor management if he doesn't do well. My buddy Eric, they're also enjoying retirement, I'm sure. I saw the one photo where were you and the son? Was it a Flyers game or a Sixers game? Something you had on Instagram. And Lars, to answer your question, welcome back. Today's show, today is the first. Oh, I got to crack my back. Today's show is the first of 2 hours on Wednesdays. We're now 2 hours, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The reason when we re-signed with WDJY in Atlanta, and we had the availability and the opportunity to get the second hour on our schedule. And so we added that to the contract. And now that's putting us into night. That's what it was. Yeah, very cool. So you're back up in Philly, or did you just make the trip? And if you're joining on Chatter, welcome. Sorry, I missed you. I'll give you an opportunity to come to the stage if you want. Just remain on the down low for a little bit, because if you haven't figured out, we're on a bunch of other platforms too. And as such, we'll get you a chance to speak and say your mind. If you want to, I sent you all invites. You're welcome to take part, and let me know who's messaging me there. So, Shay, I see your text would come up for listening mode. Can you not hear me when you're in the audience? I thought they fixed that. But I'm inviting you all to stage again. Chatter, for those of you trying to figure out what the hell I'm talking about, is a social audio application that's in beta right now. Oh, really? Made the trip up and back the same night. Oh, God love you, man. Yuck. Did you take Amtrak at least? Or did you drive that? Oh, that would suck. So anyway, that's Sean. Back to the GS pay scale. That's a GS7 right there. Almost $43,000. Plus a $40,000 signing bonus. You're paying for two agents in one for them to possibly leave. Now here we'll get to, I was talking about how Eric and I came on as new agents. Oh, you took the, please tell me you're actually trying to say Acela and it changed it to Acura. Unless you have a nice Acura car. But I'm thinking he actually took the Acela, which is the speed train from Amtrak that he likely would have taken out of Union Station in D.C. and took it to 30th Street in Philly. Yeah, so he actually meant Acura. Oh, wow. His own car. Yuck. At least you could go, you didn't have to go to 30th Street, then you could go right to the arena. But still, Jesus. But the kid was happy to be able to sleep. So back to he's got an Acura. That's a nice ride, but still, oh wow. So, Eric, you probably remember Jeff Barnacle was in Philly with us when I came on, and I forget I think he went to the President's Detail or was also over in London for a while. He was also in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We didn't have an office there. We had a desk, 2 desks, because there were 2 agents assigned to it. In the Harrisburg office for the agency, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which is now the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. And he's in there because it's so busy. Yeah. Jeff Barnacle. Barney is a great dude. He's in because it's so busy. He's in there dressed, ready to go, 7 a.m. and is there till 7 o'clock at night, 12-hour days. His colleagues from ATF are there. He told me they'd get in around 10 o'clock in the morning, coffee in hand, with golf clubs in the back of their car, something else we'd never get caught dead doing. And they would be gone by 2. That was during the campaign in 2004. He was my lead advance agent. We were on a team for Kerry and Edwards. I was the site guy. He looks at me, he says, Jurgs, what am I doing? I could be at the postal inspectors for the same salary, for the same leap, not working it ever. Same take-home car, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's it. And now, during that time, because of that type of lifestyle, we went from being the federal agency that everybody wanted to go to being the one that was a stepping stone to go to the postal inspectors. Any of these 17 OIGs who just had their lead OIG agent fired. Just because of the quality of life that we were told was being addressed when we were hired back in the early 2000s. I think Eric came on in 99. That was never addressed. Manpower, so that we're not always traveling. Never addressed. I forget which year it was, my first or second, maybe my third, but one of my years on the Clinton detail, I had something like 170 travel vouchers. A travel voucher is filled out when you leave home, you leave your district with a protectee or for a protectee, like you travel by yourself to go support the president somewhere across the country. And that documents the amount of time that you're gone until you get back home in district and put your head back down on your own pillow. I had like 170 travel vouchers in 1 year. Let's look at the dynamics of that. 170 in 12 months is 170 estimated. I don't know what it was 3 digits easily, and it was in the mids. So say 170 divided by 12. That's 14 trips a month. Clear that out. 170 divided by 52, the number of weeks in a year. 3 trips a week, out and back, 3 times a week. I mean, if you're out Monday, back Tuesday, that's 1. Out Wednesday, back Thursday, that's 2. Out Friday, back Saturday. You're home 1 day a week. You're gone the other 6. Now, granted, that was on protection, where there is more travel. That was on Hillary Clinton, the first time she ran for president. Very historic time, very busy time. But still, Trump's got 85 people, according to that article about Sean Curran. Trump's got 85 people on him. We did not have 85 people, even when we were beefed up during the campaign on Hillary Clinton back in 2007 and 2008. What's he saying? God and country. Eric's saying God and country. At least that's what they always told me, to keep my hanging. Yeah, as a young agent. And yeah, this is another good point. It's not like I was just out and back in one night and that's it. Those 170 vouchers, most were multiple days. a single voucher could be over a week long. I've had single vouchers that were 6 weeks at the Olympics. Remember that in Utah? But Eric's right. Like I said, it's just from when you leave home in your district to when you return home to your district. That's how that's the period that it's calculated. Any movements inside of your district, you're going to work. Here's another scenario that we did a lot of. Eric and I would be at Hillary Clinton's house 5 o'clock in the morning for day shift. We would be gone by 5:30, 6 o'clock, 7 maybe. Yeah, because she'd get her hair done and things like that. So 7:30, we would be gone to the Capitol because she was a senator then. And that's not why we protected her, because she was a senator. We protected her because she was a former first lady. But she was also a sitting senator from New York. She attends a few votes. We go from there to Reagan Airport. We get on a plane, and we're hitting 3 to 5 cities a day campaigning. We're back midnight. Come back next day, 5:30 in the morning, do it all over again. We had guys that lived further out, not really close to the city. That's why I knew this was going to happen. So when I bought my house, it was close to her place. It was close to being, I was actually in the District of Columbia, because I knew they were going to be what we call shortchanging, meaning that you get there and you come back within one shift or less. We had guys that lived further out who would basically go home and change suits and come right back, because that's how long it took them to get home. I covered for a guy when we had a bad storm, one of the blizzards that hit DC. Jean-Paul, welcome on Chatter. You're listening to Up the Middle. It's a political radio show. I'm basically telling war stories today. Today is the first day that we go from 1 hour long to 2 on Wednesdays. We're now 2 hours long every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. London time. Friday's show is now live and has been for a while, live on Fridays at 4 p.m. London time in London on the UG, like underground, the UG.media. Go to their channel, XL, to listen there. But yeah, those 170 some vouchers, and Eric hit it up if you remember how long or how many you got for your record, roughly. Hitting all those cities and cell phones, then didn't adjust for the local time. Yeah, that was the other thing. We'd be back and forth. I mean, we're not just like, she's based out of DC. We're not talking about, we're flying to like Charlotte, Richmond, Newark. We're going to St. Louis. We're going to Dallas. I remember flying right past the Magic Kingdom. Oh, look, there's Disney. I had no idea we were there, and except I saw the castle, and that we flew in, I guess, to Orlando. Yeah, so, and again, I'm estimating, I'm not trying to one-up Eric. He's saying his record was 167. It was somewhere in there. I'll round down, saying 150. 150 vouchers in a 52-week year. You've got three trips a week to keep that pace. And Eric's got 167. So, yeah. And point of all that being, they're now paying, the Secret Service is now paying new agents who are making $42,000 plus 20% of that, which is $8,000. So roughly $50,000 and change to be a rookie agent. And then they're giving them a $40,000 bonus. And again, I'm presuming, and if I know the Secret Service, they're not going to be stupid about it. you'll get that $40,000 after you graduate, after you're in the field office, probably in a series of payments. I doubt it's going to be one lump sum amount of change, but whatever. 40 and 50 is 90, plus scheduled overtime when you're working a long day with a protectee or president and whatever. You'll break $100,000. You'll break six figures, as the saying goes, in your first year. That is stupid. Because then year number 2 comes around, you don't get that $40,000 bonus anymore. And you're used to having six figures that you don't have. So he says that was the 2007. Yeah, same for me. When he hit the 160. Yeah, that's what we were doing for as well. After that, because she was doing a lot of travel with the State Department that we didn't go on. A lot of travel for us is if we went back up to Chappaqua and back, where we did foreign trips with Bill. So yeah, we're always available in the chat. I check in with the different apps, especially if it's not in the chat that we're seeing that's managed by Restream. If I don't get to you right away, hang tight. You can also call, for those of you that should be seeing. Yeah, the screen's on there. The phone number's there. 1-888-88 Yergs. We're also on. We're not on it today. I wonder if it's because of the other system. I don't know. But Rainbow Radio is not working today. But the phone number still exists. 844-GAY-LGBT. Speaking of LGBT, next month, by the end of February, middle of March at the latest, we're going to be on another platform. Derek and Romaine were like the Howard Stern and Robin of the gay community on Sirius XM satellite, back when it was actually both, like it was either or. You either subscribe to Sirius or you just subscribe to XM. They didn't merge yet. And they were on both on the gay channel, whatever it was called. And they're kind of like, they're more co-hosts than a sidekick, but essentially it was the Howard Stern and Robin of the gay community. They now have their own thing called DNR Studios. I think I got a thing for that too. Hold on. Somewhere. Yeah, there we go. You can go to dnrstudios.com. We will be starting on their subscription platform in about a month or so. So, like I said, we're growing. We did make the announcement yesterday. We're not going to be continuing after this Friday with the Tan Talk Network here in Tampa. With the cuts that Trump has made, even though it's suspended, I still haven't received any money from FEMA for Hurricane Helene. I'm trying to appeal it. I still haven't received the rest of my money from my insurance company from Hurricane Helene. I'm trying to speed that up. And in fact, I'll be talking to some attorneys today. But I'm looking at a construction loan. I mean, this is the house I'm living in. And I love my house. Don't get me wrong. But for those of you on video, that's what that room there, you see the studs in the background and you see all those storage crates. That's my bedroom. That's the master bedroom in my house. It's being used as a shed. I'm staying in the room that's behind the shower curtain that's behind me, where there's also a bathroom. And the shower curtain's there because there's no doors. I'm living in a construction site because I have no money, very little money. I mean, I save money, but that's the point. I'm saving it. I'm not doing the little projects here and there and wherever, whatever. I'm trying to do something noticeable and decent. And then after the bonus commitment is met, nothing is keeping the agents or officers from leaving. So it's a hiring incentive, just not a retention. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I don't get this. The best lesson that I learned when I was in umpire school wasn't about calling balls and strikes, fair foul, safe out. Wasn't the rules of baseball. The best lesson that I learned in umpire school, a little learning is a dangerous thing. You learn a little bit and you think you know a lot. That's the Trump administration. We got some comments in Instagram too. That's the Trump administration. They think they're going to do good by, trimming fat, and they make matters worse. Look at that video that went viral. I don't have it handy. I saw it the other day. But this mom who is on SNAP and other financial substance support to feed her family. She's disabled. And this was cut. She goes hungry the last week of every month so her kids can eat. I've done similar. My dog's dog food is human food. It's ground turkey and pasta. There were times money was tight. I ate with my dogs. What's their food? Shout out to Sean, their fresher Jackson. Sean Jackson. I got to see if I know that name. Mark is winning. E-Read, started on, I don't know where you're watching us from now, but it looks like YouTube. But you saw us first on Insta. Mark is winning again. Stephen Goranzi, welcome. Yeah, plenty of material to talk about. And everybody else over on Instagram, we remembered to get started on there today. I didn't screw it up like I've been. I got to take one more break. When we come back, we'll wrap up and get off to lunch and see what else is in the chat. 99.1, Miracle One Radio, QZR, ZQR, Pineland, Florida. K-Shop, that's actually what it's called, K-Shop, KSHP in Las Vegas, and the rest of the Mastiff Media Network. We'll be back after this. What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching. Dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum. What's that smell? In my studio, it's Aroma by Peter. Scented wax candles with long-lasting wicks that make your place smell amazing. And don't worry, guys. Plenty of scents for you too. For us too. So go to aromabypeter.com. My back is killing me. So somebody asked me to, on one side, I was asked, why are you on it? The other side, I was asked if I was on it. And that is Not only are we on YouTube and some of the other platforms, we are also on Rumble. We are on Truth Social. I know John Fetterman, the senator, was just given grief for being on Truth Social. And like, you know what? I think that's a good thing. That's why we are up the middle. We're not a progressive talk show. We're not a conservative talk show. We're both. And that's what we're trying to do here is bring everybody together to sit down and talk. I have not talked to my brothers in I don't know how long. They're both Trump supporters. We're not allowed to talk politics when I'm visiting for the holidays. And now I was just home for Christmas and I told my parents, I said, I'm not coming back. My brothers made absolutely no effort to talk to me. Now, keep in mind, I'm in a family of construction people. My dad's a general contractor, 73 years old, still swinging a hammer. My kid brother is a general contractor, lives at the bottom of my mom and dad's driveway, still hardly saw him, in his own house that he built. My baby brother is a vice president at Clark Construction. Well, actually now it's CBG, stands for Clark Builders Group. The old man died. There was a split of assets, yada, yada, yada. A bunch of investors came together who worked for the company and said, hey, let's start our own thing and continue this brand. And hence CBG was born. He's got daughters. They wanted nothing to do with the company, so they were bought out, yada, yada, yada. My baby brother's the boss there. When I was home for Christmas and home for an early Thanksgiving, I'm still trying to figure that out, back in like mid-November. Do you think anybody asked me how things were going with the remodel and rebuild of my house, having lost everything for the second time in my life? Nothing. And I know it comes down to two things. One, that I'm not a Trump supporter, and they are. And two, I think they're still having an issue with me being gay. None of them follow me on social. I can talk nasty about them all I want. They'll never know. They don't follow me. Mom gets pissed. But my own brothers didn't even know that I was there for Christmas. I flew back down here the 26th, early in the morning, the day after Christmas night. My brother, who lives in D.C. area, like out near Leesburg, used to live in Leesburg. It's some other place now. Before he goes to bed, comes to give me a hug and say, hey, it was great seeing you again. I said, did you know I was here? And he knew what I was calling him out for. And I think he said something like, yeah, I want to change this. Like he does. He and I used to go to Hamburger when we both lived in D.C. He lived over by RFK Stadium, his first house that he and his wife had. I lived in the same townhouse that I lived in all 11 and a half years in D.C. We used to meet at this one place. I forget what it's called. But it was on Pennsylvania Avenue, I think, on Capitol Hill. Every Monday for Hamburger Mondays. We get like half-price hamburgers. I don't even get calls from him for my birthday anymore. It's all right. Enough bitching. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's only an hour show, but every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific, 4 p.m. local time in London. You can get us here. But we do have a European audience, as you saw. Lars checking in from the Netherlands. He's a day trading buddy of mine. And, good dude, too. So, yeah, Eric's saying that FEMA may not even exist in a few months. Yeah. A lot not going to be there. A lot of changes that I'm not sure they're all for the best. So, 99.1 WDJY, America One Radio, WZQR. Oh, there goes 99.1. WZQR. And ZQR Talks, Pineland, Florida, 1400 and 107 KSHP in Las Vegas, the Biz Growth Collective. Check that out. It's on the screen. I'll leave it there. And Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, and the rest of the Mastiff Media Network. We'll see you tomorrow.